Starts.
That's about how it goes. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. As you can see, we got the band back together. We're going to talk about the STINE race this past weekend. Everybody here, but yours truly, competed in it. And of course, we have the legendary, it's on my bottom left, anyways, Rob KEISTER, who put this event on and organized the whole thing. And it's going to be a great conversation, and looking forward to talking to the entire VOLPE clan. And Pete, go ahead and take it away, my friend.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
What's going on? All right.
So we got about 2/3 of the payout here, all in one square in our little partridge family that we got going on. It's funny because I saw Nick in the finals for Super Gas on Saturday and wasn't sure if it was the final because I just rolled up into the golf cart to see what was going on. And then you two guys came over and said that, yeah, it's the final, and that, Frank, you went to the semis that same day, correct?
Yeah.
And then I saw Nick went at least a couple of rounds. I think I saw 2-round wins on Sunday. How far did you go, Nick?
I lost second round on Sunday.
Lost second round, okay. And then Frank wound up sealing the deal to play winner in Super Street.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely logged in some wins and took home some prize money, which is awesome. You guys have known by hearing my spiel on this show before how impressed I am when the whole family does it together. I think that's awesome. You guys got some serious cars in your camp. And clearly you got some serious ability too, because this is not the first win that the camp brought in this season.
No, it's not.
So we'll stay. Yeah. Someone's got to carry it, right, Frank?
Yeah.
So, Nick, tell us how your season has gone so far up until the Stein race.
So far, pretty good. Nothing to complain about. I'm currently third in Rob's series. I runnered up the second race, or the first race. I runnered up, and been doing consistent in the divisional series as well. So far, I think I'm 13. A couple of third-round losses.
Awesome, good stuff. And then Frank, we know that you've had a downright assault on the .90 stuff that you've been in this year. You've got a couple of wins before the Stein race, and then to show it was no fluke, you knocked down another one this weekend with one of those big cardboard checks to hang in the trailer.
Yeah.
What have you done this year for the people that don't know?
Well, to the season opener for the .90 series, I was able to win on Saturday and Sunday.
Wow,
swept. And then nothing really, not lighting up the world much after that. A few third-round losses in the divisionals, and then back to the .90 series for this weekend, and a semifinal on Saturday and one on Sunday.
Awesome. Very nice. Very nice. And Frank Sr.
Well,
you know I'm gonna stick you out, right?
I'm dead last in divisional points.
Perfect. Bringing up the rear. It's good to see the Volpe's got a full spread on the field. So
yeah, at least I can only go up.
That's right. You can't fall off the floor, right?
No.
For those that don't know, and I'm sure most people do, Frank Sr. has one of the nicest top sportsman cars I've ever seen. And actually, all three of the cars driven by these three people are phenomenal. One is just nicer than the next. You look at one car and you're like, wow, this car is really nice. And then you go look at the other one and it's like, yeah, clearly it runs in the family. Frank Sr., what have you ran so far this year, and what are your plans for the rest of the year?
I ran the Lebanon divisional.
Yep.
We're still kind of testing the car, so I've been a lot of testing. And
you were playing around with some suspension stuff earlier in the year, correct?
Yes.
And I saw that up at Lebanon Valley, you had a really nice run and a pretty awesome 60-foot time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the fastest so far is 4:37 in the eighth.
Okay.
992 60-foot. So it's hooking. It just sometimes the hook goes away. So we're
Gotcha.
fighting that issue.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
you're kind of, I mean, you go there to compete, but you're still kind of in test mode to get everything to work the way it should.
Yes. I'm trying.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. Well, it's
I was
not
at the Dave Stein race. I didn't have any good runs
really.
there. So yeah, it didn't get down.
That's too bad because
It happens.
that's a hell of a nice car not to see going some rounds, but I'm sure
Yeah.
your kids will figure it out for you and you'll be able to make some
Hopefully.
laughs in it.
Hopefully.
So what's up with the VOLPE camp for the rest of the year? What do you guys plan on doing?
Well, the Maple Grove Divisionals in 2 weeks. We're
Yep.
planning on
Yeah.
being there.
We're gonna go there.
After that is the pig roast for Rob's series. We'll be there. And
Epping.
yeah, the Epic
Virginia.
Divisional.
Are you
Yeah.
guys in for the national event as well?
No.
No,
So you're just
No.
going for the divisional. Did you guys see the run schedule they just came out with? I guess
Yes.
they're going to do the divisional on Friday and Saturday, and then
Yep.
race the national on Sunday.
Yes.
I also saw that they're going to do a test and tune on Thursday.
So that.
Excellent. So yeah, look, we look forward to seeing you guys more. And if you could just take it easy on me, if I ever line up against you, Frank, I'd appreciate that.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Hey, if it's anything like the time trial, I don't even think I'll stage the car.
So I did get a question sent to me earlier. This is for Frank Jr. Your
Okay.
number one fan wants to know if you're going to run the rest of the divisional series for the rest of the year and chase for the divisional championship.
I will be running the divisionals for the rest of the year, but I'm not really chasing a championship right now. Well, the goal is to win every time I show up at the track. So I guess you could say I'm going to chase a championship, sure.
All right, so
Who's the number one fan?
your number one fan is,
I know who it is.
is Mike Handress. He messaged
Oh,
me. He goes, "You gotta ask him this." I'm like,
No.
"All right, I can do that."
Shoulda known.
Well, I got news for you. If any of these gentlemen's plans are to go to the racetrack and win, then everyone's in trouble because I like their odds. The guy in the middle, not so much, but the two on the end, yeah, they scare me.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get a super comp card just to avoid all three of them if I can.
Yeah, but you know what'll happen? Taylor will end up chasing you around in supercar.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you know what? If I thought my fat ass could squeeze into a junior dragster, I'd give that a try. So one thing I do want to ask you guys before I let you guys go.
Yeah.
We're obviously very biased when we talk about races and promoters and stuff like that. And I'm definitely going to give my insight on the STINE race. But you guys definitely have enough races under your belt and enough experience. Tell us what you think of the whole format, how the weekend went, and pretend like Rob's not sitting there listening.
I see him. How come I?
Hold your hand over that side of the screen.
Go ahead, you guys race. What do you think?
I mean, I think the whole weekend went very well, considering the car count that we had, which was an amazing car count. Could have been a little quicker. I feel it was a lot of waiting in the lanes, not so much downtime on track, but just sitting around, kind of waiting to move up. Other than that, I think
Waiting for other racers to get up there.
Yeah. All the complaints that we would have is on the racers, not the race itself.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You hear racers bitch all the time about anything from track prep to the pace not being fast enough or the pace being too fast. I mean, you name it. And then when there's actually something that the racers can control, they don't.
Nope.
Makes no sense to me. And again, I'll give my input as to what I thought of the race a little later on. But my one complaint that I have is there was a lot of downtime on Saturday. And when I say downtime, I don't mean nothing going down the track. I mean me waiting to get called to go up and race. And
Yes.
I really believe that 80% of that was because people weren't going up there when they were called. And
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me. I don't know. I don't get it. But for the most part, I would say for every part, everything that the Keister clan was in charge of was spot on. And every time I saw someone wearing a shirt that represented the race in the .90 Association, I made sure to tell them they did a phenomenal job because it was hot. There
Yeah, it
was
was
a
definitely hot.
shitload of cars. And even with what some of us felt was a little bit of excessive downtime, the fact that they pulled off 2 races, one with 370 plus and one with 300 plus, and got them all done by the end of the day on Sunday is pretty incredible.
Yep.
Complete
They did
with
a good job.
buybacks and junior dragsters and the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, great.
Frank loves junior dragsters.
What's that?
Don't get me started.
So awesome. All
He
right.
just said-
Well,
he just
we'll
said-
let you guys go so that we're not boring the hell out of you. And thanks for coming on the show. And
Thank you.
phenomenal
Thanks for
job,
having
guys.
us.
Great cars and great driving this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
got
thank
it.
you
Have a good one.
guys.
Thanks for coming
Bye.
on.
Bye.
All right, have a great night.
You too.
You too.
They're gonna start fighting. They're gonna figure out how to turn the thing off. Probably.
So, Mr. Keister, on a
Yes.
scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this weekend's race?
You know me, I'm always my probably biggest critic, I guess you would say, when it comes down to anything where it was. And you know, I think any promoter or anybody who runs any kind of event, whether it be a barbecue or a bar mitzvah or a wedding where it was, can always say that, you know, we can always do something better
Yep.
on the way. I mean, if I had to give myself a rating out of 10, I would probably say like an 8.25.
Oh, that's a nice round
you
number.
You know, just because the fact is, you know, the amount of cars that we had, yes, I probably could have cut the .90 guys to one-time shot, you know, and even the juniors probably to one-time shot like we did last year, so we could finish at a decent time, so everybody can, you know, get back and enjoy the barbecue and enjoy the
Yep.
bands and all that stuff, you know, going on. But, you know, you also run into the situation where, you know, people complain that, you know, you're not giving them 2-time shots for the amount of money that they spent and you know, such and such. So you try to aim to please, you know,
Right.
when it comes down to it. I mean, I had people, there's a couple of people that comment. I mean, you know, not that I was trying to stir the pot today with anything that I posted on the .90 site or the junior site, you know, for stuff, but there was this issues that we ran into with the junior dragsters that we had actually run into at Cecil County. And we thought we had kind of squashed it, and then it reared its head again this
Right.
weekend, where, you know, kind of like the kids were kind of cherry picking, you know, like they were kind of picking on who they wanted to race, you know, first round, and, you know,
I
because you're
gotcha.
not on a ladder. I mean, you're not on a ladder. I mean, it's just like, you know, to be honest with you, we do it in the big cars. I mean, you know, people might not
Right.
see it as blatantly as they do in the junior dragsters, but there's times where I've seen people where they park in certain spots, you know, so that, you know, they have clear access to the stage lanes, and they see a guy that they've known, you know, for the 3-time shots he's gone down, you know, that he's only gone, you know, 10-10 and 10-05 and 10-15, and he has there's no way that he's going to run the index. So it's like
Right.
the boom, the minute he goes up, boom, they're in their car chasing right after him. And it's kind of like what we kind of ran into with the junior dragster. So, you know, Dana, Ashley, myself, Dave, we're trying to find a situation that's going to alleviate the problem as best as we can, and try to work out, you know, a way. And one of the things was, you know, basically doing a no return line, you know, where you come into the lanes, and you know, Maple Grove is such a long lane line, you know, the stage lanes are so long as it is, and Cecil
Sure.
can kind of confusing because you get the turnaround, like the loop,
Yep.
you know, whereas once you pass that line, you cannot go around your issues. Like you can, like, if you go past that line, you can't like veer off to the another lane to let like
Sure.
5 cars go past you, because you don't want to run Pete Sanker first round. So I
Right.
figured I'd try to cherry pick and try to get this guy because he's not, maybe he's new to junior dragsters.
Yep.
So that's what we were running into a lot. Was unfortunately some tempers did get a little heated between some junior parents, and I did have to break up at least one fight. So for that, and then like kind of even what the Volpe said is that the lollygagging, and stuff.
Right.
And then listen, I get it. I understand. I'm a racer myself. I'm not trying to pick on anybody by what I was saying. It's just that if we run we make a round at 4 o'clock at round number 1, and
Yep.
round number 2 isn't going to be till 5:30.
Right.
If you go out there and you go 000 on the light and you go 1090 with a 1, guess what? The minute that announcer, not even super street, has even come out of his mouth, I just had a 1 pack. I'm in that car getting up there because I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
feeling good.
Right.
Like I'm ready to hit that tree again, and I'm ready to go, dead 1 again, or dead
Yep.
0. And for some people, it just was like the lollygagging in between the runs was kind of like, like, come on guys, let's, work with me, work with you. And
Right.
I think also a lot of it happens to be is that for the longest time with previous ownership at Maple Grove, if they went over curfew, I think nobody really got their hands slapped.
Okay.
It was 11 o'clock curfew. If they went over, 11:15, 11:20, 11:30,
Right.
there was no, like, the police weren't at the front,
Sure.
front gate, shut it down, or, you're going to get a fine type thing. And I, think with new ownership, of course, there's stuff behind the scenes that none of us know anything that's going on as far as,
Right.
what was done previously to allow that to happen. Now,
Yep.
Now you have newer owners coming in who now might not be doing the same thing as the previous owners. So now,
Right.
now
It's like when you start a new job, right? You don't know what you could get away with, what you can't, right? Could I check my phone during the day? Could I not check my phone? Well, that's what the new owners are going with, right? They don't want to take the chance of going over 11 because why take the chance of pissing off everyone when you're just getting your foot in the door, so to speak.
Yeah. And then what happens is, you start getting a neighbor who wants to be that hard ass, the
Right.
one who, maybe for the longest time he got maybe his property taxes paid for or something from the previous owners. Well, now,
Sure.
maybe the new owners come in or saying, you know what, we're not paying for that anymore.
Right.
But now he's going to get pissed off and be like, well, they ran till 11:02.
Yeah. Right.
And,
Yeah. Sitting there with a stopwatch looking. Yeah.
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 So, the unfortunate part is, we had a, hard curfew, 11 o'clock. It was 11 o'clock. It was, whatever. And, I mean, there were some issues that ran, we had, I think around 4:30. So we had to scrape, because there was a buildup of rubber from Friday nights test and tune to Saturdays, racing and stuff like that. You had to scrape, which really put a little bit of a damper on, a delay as far as racing goes.
Sure.
So we could have get that done. Obviously, as you can tell by some of the comments or always that are on Facebook right now, the super pro people are not big fans of .90 racing. As you can tell, hey, to each its own. I mean, we're not, people are racers. It's just how it's going to be. I mean,
Right.
but it's tough. I don't know. I mean, how to explain it. It's just, you see it at the division races, and I know the division directors, even Dave, at times it kind of, his head was ready to blow off the top of his head, because, he's trying to get races completed. Either weather's coming in, there's a curfew coming or something like that. And everybody's in the back of the lanes, so Pete, what are you doing for Christmas? Where are you going?
Yeah. Right.
My spouse, where are the kids doing? And so again, it's like, guys, get in your car. Let's move up so we get the next class in. Like,
Right.
And that's why I try to tell people at the .90 races, it's not that we're trying to be assholes about it. It's
Right.
just the fact is that with you guys blocking the back of the lanes, we cannot get another class in, and then what happens is when you do call, super gas to the lanes and you call them again and you only got like, you might have 5 cars there, but you can't
Right.
make a pair, and then
Yeah,
what
yeah,
happens
right,
is,
right. So now you have even more congestion, and
yeah,
because
so then what
people
happens is
aren't coming
like,
up, you can't make the pairs and send them down.
yeah, and because the thing is also you can't make any pairs, but also at the same time you're making pairs in the back, you're running cars out down the racetrack. So then
Right.
as you're going, you're slowly running out of super street cars. You're slowly
Sure.
running out of pro limited cars, and you don't have anything else to start replacing it yet. So then you have to call another class in. But then these guys, I mean the pro and super pro guys, the minute you don't even have super pro out of your mouth on the mic or it was, and
Yep.
they're already coming down in the lanes. And then they're bobbing and weaving and trying to get around the cars that are getting ladder.
Sure.
Tempers are getting hot. It's a long day. People are hot. People want to get the race done. And
Yep.
then, you get people that are mouthing off the other mouth, it's like, yeah, it's like, so, I mean, we got to the point where we had the pro final was supposed to be done. It was Paul Tim Jr., who, if anybody knows, Paul Tim Sr. was a huge influence at Maple Grove Raceway.
Yep.
He's still around. I mean, but Rob, who is the starter at Maple Grove, he's like Paul's like stepson. You have Kevin Robb. You have Kevin Robb also as part of that group. But Shorty, as he goes by, he was in the final, and the gentleman he was supposed to run, Greg Harnsberger, was coming around the corner, and the car quit. Fuel pump ended up taking a dump.
Right.
So he's trying to start it, cannot get the thing started, tried everything to do, so they push it off to the side, and so Shorty pulls his car over and says, you get your car fixed. We still have about 15 minutes for us before curfew. And so they're trying, can't get it to go. And Shorty comes up to me and goes, listen, I hope that somebody would wait for me if this happened to me. And this would
Right.
this is a really crappy way to lose a race, especially, it's a 7-round race. We've been busting our rear ends all day long. This would be a really crappy way to lose. So I'm okay if you want to run this tomorrow. You want to run this race tomorrow sometime. And I said, well, the only way we can really do it is we do it the end of Q1. You guys are the last 2 cars to go down. Throw dials up on her and we'll race it. So that's what they agreed
Right.
on. So they fixed the fuel pump overnight, and came back. But in the meantime, you ran Super Pro, and then you got Super Comp up there, and then guys are, I mean, I think Davey Marple, who won Super Comp, he literally turned the wind light on, came down the end, and came right back up in the stage lanes. And they had
Right.
the battery charger on, they had the fuel on there, they were charging the thing. I mean, and his opponent, Waterl, went back to the trailer, gassed up, all this stuff,
Yep.
and then they towed him up to the lanes. Well, unfortunately at 11 o'clock, boom, it
Right.
hit with hair curfew, so he couldn't run the final. Well, things got a little heated between them two because they were one's pissed off because like I've been sitting up here waiting for you and you're whatever, and
Right.
he used to say that that became fight number 2 I had to break out in a day, and just and and then the Super Pro guys decided they were going to split, because they just had gotten, they just decided, hey, you know what, it's just better for us to split,
Right.
we'll just call it a day. But then Sunday came along, and Sunday, no matter what, I think any promoter will tell you Sunday's always the roughest day because, even if you're not racing Thursday or Friday, you get drained out so much on Saturday
Yep.
that your Sunday's just like, oh my God, let's try to get done as soon as we
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
can,
Right.
But all in all, I mean, it was a great event. I mean, like I said, 373 cars the one day, 303 cars the next day. I can't tell you what the future is going to be of the Dave Stein.
Yep.
I would like it to continue. I mean, it may possibly go back to being the .90 Nationals. I'm not really sure. I mean, there's some stuff that has to be worked on with the family and stuff going forward. And I going to be completely honest, I don't know what else to do to get .90 cars to show up. I just am baffled and I don't really know. The first year we had it
what was your .90 counts?
total for Saturday was 111,
For
and
all three
Sunday
classes
was
combined?
yep, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and Sunday was around. Sunday was actually a lot less. I think. Trying to think in my head here, about 97, I think,
Did
for
you say 70?
for 97
Oh, 97.
Sunday. Yeah, it was 111 for Saturday and 97 for Sunday. So, I mean, honestly, as much as people wanted to gripe and complain about Super Pro and Pro being there, Super Pro and Pro actually saved my ass
Yeah,
from the race being a complete disaster.
right.
In juniors we had 50s plus in juniors, and top sportsmen I think we had 16, top dragster I think we had 21, I think it was. So to make the numbers that we did, but
Yep.
I mean, it just I just don't know. I mean, I'm baffled. I mean, I knew going. The unfortunate part is last year there were some issues because of what happened with the track. It just was. There were some things, and some even people told me at New Media 2 weeks ago that basically they weren't coming because of the issues from last year. Now, my one thing was to the starter when I saw him on Friday is that I want this track to be top notch, 100%. Like, I want people to be like, you know what, this place is smooth and this place is good. This traction's good. We're not having any issues. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, the track was great.
I will tell you that my incremental numbers were the best my car has ever been. If I will take some pictures of my time slips and send them to you. The only issue I had was the elimination run on Saturday. I was the first one out after they prepped the track. And the track was so sticky that I actually lost 75 RPM on the throttle stop. And I gained 300ths because the car was actually slower. As soon as the throttle stop kicked off, all my incrementals were right back to within 2,000ths of the previous two runs. And that's not a bad thing, right? That's a good thing. As far as that's something that I have to learn about my car, right? I mean, the track can't adjust their prep to cater to the first couple of pairs that go out when they're catering to the next 80 pairs on how they prep the track, So that's just a learning curve for me. But I will tell you that I've never, in all the events that I've gone to, including nationals, I've never seen as much track preparation as I did this weekend there. I mean, it seemed like scraping, dragging, spraying was just like a routine thing. And it was pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, they're doing a lot. They take a lot of, they take a lot in. Kyle's really helping out a bunch when it comes down to track prep and stuff. Whereas, and Rob, who's their chief starter, their general manager for you have Shane, who's their general manager, and then kind of like Rob's like their, I guess you would say, like track manager, I guess you would say, because he's the one who's part of the track. So Rob is really taking in a lot of like the issues. I mean, that's like he'll come up to me and be like, this is what I want, like this is how we want the track to be, and that's then literally as I'm pulling out on Sunday night, he comes rolling over on his quad, and he was just like, so what complaints did you have? What did you hear? What, like, who came up to you and said what? Or it wasn't
right.
And what happened was, like I said, Friday night they had a good torrential downpour on Friday morning, I think it was, leading up to Friday testing too. And so need to say that washed away all of the rubber, all the prep and stuff that they had leading up to it. So then Friday came around, and of course what happened was a lot of the .90 cars went to test because they were kind of scared that they weren't going to get that second qualifier, on Saturday. So they said, let's at least try to get some data for for it just in case we get nixed on a qualifier. So they ran, and a lot of guys even told me, says, the first run was kind of, we were kind of skating around a little bit, this and that. So that's the first thing I did. I jumped on my scooter and went over to Rob and I said, listen, said, hear a lot of complaints. A lot of guys are starting to skate around a little bit, and this and that. He says, Rob, he says, you got to give me some time. He says, we just had a lot of rain. We washed off a lot of the rubber that was down there. We got to get a little bit of rubber down. He goes, trust me. He says, after we get some cars down, the second run will be a lot better. And I can tell you, I was watching the band at probably like 9:30, and they were sending throttle stop cars down, and they were going right down Broadway. It wasn't.
I made 2 passes on Friday night. I wasted a lot of time in the beginning because I was helping my son, and I wanted to see him make a pass. And I believe I made my passes around 8:30 and around 9:30. And I mean, obviously, I'm not a top sportsman car, but I'm fairly fast in Super Street. And I mean, not even a chatter on the tire, not a skate, not a anything. The drive shaft looked as smooth as it could possibly be. No issues. And, everyone worries about that Maple Grove dew that settles in, and right down Broadway both times.
Yeah. And Saturday night scared me a little bit as we were getting later on in the day. And I think even neither Nick or Frank might have came up to me and were like, they said to me, are you really planning on to finish this whole thing tonight? Like, because I think it was starting to kind of get scared. Like, here comes the Maple Grove dew, last thing I'm going to do is do something stupid and wreck a car or something like that. And I kept going out and checking the track, and I take my scooter down the top end. That's usually where most of the dew actually settles in. It's not so much on the starting line to be great. It's just when you get down there because you get in those trees, and that's where the dew really starts to set in. And it was still sticky down at the top end. It wasn't dewy. And it was weird because the final round, I got ready to go take pictures of the final round. I walked in the grass, and the grass had looked like it just rained. I mean, the grass was completely soaked, which is weird, but yeah, I mean, overall it was a great, great event. I mean, now of course I have the pro and super pro racers reaching out, because now they all want places to race because now they don't have, they don't have ACO anymore. And it's a tough thing. I mean, it's just I know I haven't really weighed in on my thoughts about it. I mean, I did a live video, I think a couple of days after, the whole thing. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I think most of us don't understand that if somebody came knock on your door and offered you the amount of money he probably got for that property, I think it would be silly not to take it. Would it have been nice for him to at least honor the rest of the season? Yes, that would have been really, listen, put a note out saying November 1st, 2023, I have an offer for the place to be sold. It can't be turned back around. We're going to honor our points champions. We're going to honor any contracts we have. And then November 1st, get your last, kicks down the racetrack because we're closing the doors forever. But to, have the kids that, that's what I heard from a lot of the junior parents over the weekend was like, we literally went to Bristol as part of Team ACO, celebrated as Team ACO when our champions won, and then 2 days later it was like somebody burned our house down. And that's where they felt like, I guess, whatever. I mean, it's just, but I don't know. I mean, the place is literally 35 minutes from my house. It's going to be horrible, horrible to see it, not a racetrack anymore. But, I guess.
So I totally agree with his property. He could do what he wants. And I've actually spoken up about that a couple of times, that guys, you could be as hurt feelings as you want that it's not a racetrack anymore, but it's his property, and for the betterment of his family and for him, he would have been foolish not to. But I learned this weekend, and again, it's just what I hear. It's not firsthand information, but from what I've heard, he was offered a matching number from racers to keep it a racetrack, and he flat out said no. And if that's the case, then I mean, not that it matters that I have an issue with it, because who the hell am I? But that's when I will stop defending what he did. It's almost like from what I've heard this weekend is if I couldn't make a racetrack exceptional and profitable, no one else is going to do it and show me up. And like I said, if that's the case, then I understand everyone bitching. I get it, but either way, it doesn't matter if we're butthurt or not, if we have a reason to be or not. It doesn't change what's happening. So I guess we all just got to kind of move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, if I decided after this weekend, after having a successful event like we had with the Dave Stein, that come Tuesday I make an announcement and say, you know what, the Mid Atlantic Bazzani series is done and over with. I'm done. After all the stuff I dealt with this weekend, I'm just done. I'm sure a lot of people would be trashing me and saying that I'm a quitter on this and that. I'm taking whatever money I made from Maple Grove and running and stuff like that. I mean, it's not. I mean, trust me, I've been getting beat up pretty good. I mean, and it's not, it's, it's, I think, and in my post to thank everybody yesterday was, I don't think a lot of people realize how tough it is to run a racetrack.
Definitely not.
They think it's just, they think it's easy as pie to make sure that your rotation is following correctly, and that, you need to keep or you need to keep cars going right down the racetrack. I mean, it's, when you have downtime, that's when, dew sets in. It's because you're not sending heat, you're not sending rubber down the racetrack and stuff.
Sure.
And I just don't think a lot of people understand that aspect of it. They think it's easy to sit back in the armchair quarterback and say, well, if I was running the series, I would do this, and if I was running the series, I would do that. But they don't understand is that as a promoter, you also have the track owner who's chirping in your ear, like, why are we not sending cars down the racetrack? What is going on? Well, I called them 3 times already, and they're still up there, planning Thanksgiving dinner.
It's the same old shit all the time. Help me help you.
Yeah.
You want me to help you, you got to help me out.
And I don't know what I honestly don't know what the solution is to make it work. And I mean, I threatened to do designated pairs in the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And I really didn't want to go that route, because with us having such a light car count, I mean, not a light car count, but just, we get, give or take 30 cars Super Street, maybe 35 Super Gas, 40 Super Comp cars at an event. To pull designated pairs, then you start getting people like, well, you pull Pete Sanka because, he slashed your tires at last year's, Englishtown race or something, So it was like, I don't want to go that route, but it's like, listen, guys, like, work with me, I'll work with you. Let's, get in your, like, I don't need you to get completely in your car and be strapped in where it was. I just need you to pull back around so that you can sit there and you can do your tires, you can get your stuff on at the beginning of the lanes. I just have to get another class in here so that when I'm all done running you guys, which takes, if I only got 10 pairs at 9 seconds a piece, we're looking at maybe 5 to 6 minutes of you guys going down the racetrack.
Right. Why does it take a half an hour to pair everyone up to do 5 minutes worth of racing? It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm, I mean, I get it. Like, if we're getting in the later rounds and you're kind of round robin and things like that, I get it.
Right.
But when you have an hour and a half or 2 hour in between sessions, I mean, it should be super gas lanes, boom, boom, and then right up to the lanes. But just I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you saw my comment on your post, but if it was me, if it was me, I would say, Super Street, this is your first call. The back of the lanes are closing in 10 minutes. And do it during time trials. And all you have to do is turn a couple of people away during a time trial. And then before first round starts, say, listen, you lost the time trial. If you want to end your weekend early, do the same shit. Right? When I call you, you need to come up here. And you
And I
turn
get
a couple of people around for a time trial, and I'll bet you probably won't have an issue when it comes time for eliminations or the rest of the events. Now,
I mean,
do
I
you
get
run
it.
the risk
I
of
mean,
someone getting pissed off and saying, I'm never going to a Rob race again? Yeah. Do you run the risk of when there's a lot of downtime and the track's getting cold and you can't get the whole event in, of losing people? Yeah. So it's like, you pick
I
your
like
battles,
the
right?
one comment that I don't know who it was that said it, but they at a dirt track they have a big old clock wherever it was on the track. You know, when they call, the clock starts running at 5 minutes, and then at 5 minutes, ding, ding, ding. Sorry, guys, you guys are done. You're out. You know, you're done.
Super Street, it's 9 o'clock. The back of the stage and lanes are closing at 9:10. Get here or you lose your time trial.
Yep.
Have a nice day. And I know
Yeah.
you would think you're dealing with a bunch of adults that you shouldn't have to do that. And you're going to get the issues where, you know, someone has something wrong with their car and there's a legitimate reason why they're coming up late. And I get all that. But at the end of the day, you have a race to run. And you have to answer to track owners and crews that are prepping and people that are in the pits waiting for their classes to get called. And, you know, I mean, there's just no
I mean,
reason to drag
much
your
as
feet.
that, you know, much as I thought I felt that the race was extremely successful on Sunday night. You know, I get home, and you know, I'm getting messages. You know, why did we have to wait till 4 o'clock to make our first time shot? Like the top sportsman guys, why did we have to wait till 4 o'clock to make our time shot on Saturday? You know,
Right.
why do we have, you know, and you know, nobody ever thinks, you know, that you're going to get the amount of cars that you're going to get. I
Right.
mean, you know, yes. I mean, I knew Tuesday night when the announcement came out that ACCA was closing, and they were shutting their doors. I was going to be in for a not rude awakening, but I knew I was going to be for a lot of pro and super pro cars because now these guys had no place to go.
Sure.
Juniors also. Now,
Right.
you know, the junior kids were all, you know, our junior count was actually going to be probably pretty light for Saturday because of the fact is that most of our points guys were going to ACCO to run points on Saturday, and then we're coming to Maple Grove on Sunday. That's exactly what they told me. And then all of a sudden, now
Right.
their plans changed. Now they all decided to come here. So I think we
Yep.
had 57 juniors. I think it was on Saturday. I think we had 51 on Sunday. I think it was,
Right.
and I think we had almost 100 super pro cars, 70 pro cars. You know, so you know, and that adds up. And everybody's like, well, why did you do buybacks? Well, the unfortunate part is buybacks are profit for anything,
Right.
promoter,
Right.
you know, promoter, racetrack, whatever it is. That's why these places do buybacks. You know, because the way their structure, you know, the way their structure is for when they're doing their, you know, this is what you win, this is what you runner up, this is what you did. They base it off of how many cars were run first round, and
Sure.
then, you know, then what happens is okay,
Possibility
let's do a
of what you're going to take in for a buyback.
Yeah, you do a buyback, you get, you know, say you get 100 super pro cars and 40 of them decide that they want to buy back, you know, $50 a pop. That's a $2,000 profit for you.
Yeah.
That, you know, goes back to the racetrack, and you
Right.
make your profit off of pro, you make your profit, and then you do the same. I mean, you make yourself a nice push,
Sure.
you know, a nice profit, or was, you know, and you're still paying out a decent, you know, payout that somebody's like, you know what, I went 5 rounds at Rob's race and I'm going home with $300.
Right.
You know, it's you know, and Rob's making money, you know, and such. So I mean, you know, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess. Thing you're never, you know, as they say, you're never going to make everybody happy no matter what
Nope.
you do.
Nope, you're not.
You know, and even when you think you make everybody happy and you have a great event, there was somebody going to be like, you know, why do we not race till 3 o'clock? And why did, you know, you do buybacks? And why did you do this with juniors? And
Yep.
why, you know, why was Super Pro and Super Gas mixed together at the same time? And, you know, it's just, you know, I mean, we fixed it a little bit for Sunday, and I looked at it, you know, if you ever been in the top of Maple Grove's Tower, up in the 3rd floor, you have
Yep.
your race control area, but if you go in the back, there's actually a window which overlooks the stage lanes. So that's
Mhm.
how you're able to see, you know, what's coming in the staging lanes, this and that.
Sure.
And I even looked Saturday night, and all 5 of us on my team were all wearing walkie-talkies. So we were talking back and forth to each other, and I said, you know, guys, we got to be able to pull the cars up, for pairings.
Right.
Because what happens, they were jumbling themselves all right in that back area portion right there, which was
Yep.
then congesting the rest of the cars to be able to come in. So for Sunday, I was telling them, listen, you need to bring them down to bring them down the guardrail area, and
Right.
then pair them up that way. That makes it,
Yep.
it opens up the back portion so that, if we have to call Super Pro, we have to call juniors, or we have to call whatever it is, that they can get in and we're not having, mass
Right.
chaos.
Yep.
Bunch of comments, if I can jump in here for just 1 minute. Kind of backing up to the track prep part of things. Meredith Howard Jenke, obviously Bill Jenke's wife, said it was great. Jimmy Stack heard from multiple Maple Grove racers say it was the best track prep that the track had ever had. Let's see. Going to the difficult racers portion of the conversation. It's almost always the same ones and most of the same classes, and saw it at media. And Jimmy Stack, I hope he's joking about this. .90 needs buybacks.
No, we did buy it. So there's a quick story. So actually going back to the ACO. So everybody knows the history of, I guess you would say, my venture into big money .90 racing. So
Yep.
It originally started in new media at 2012. I decided to do the first ever .90 nationals. Lee Zane and Brian Van Poppel did a very successful event called the Combo in the Hill Stock Super Stock race, which was a $10,000 to win stock super stock combo race. It was done on Mother's Day weekend. It was done on a Saturday Mother's Day weekend. I think they had like 102, 103 cars. Well, at the time, not a lot of people knew about new media, because the division race hadn't been there since 2006, I think, or 2004, or whatever it may possibly be. And then we had some .90 races there in like 2007 or 6 is when we first started going up there. I love new media. So I decided to do a big money race for .90 there, and then the following year, which were both kind of bust and such. Well, I took a couple years off to go back to college, get my degree. 2017, ACO at the time had come up to me. It was DJ Balducci was just taking over as general manager there, and his dad Dom Balducci, who was a regular bracket racer there, told me that they want to have this big .90 nationals at ACO Raceway, and they want me to be the spearhead of getting it and getting everybody on board. And at the time we met with DJ, Dom, Lenny, and his daughter Caitlin, and we sat down, ironed out everything, and Dom said, he goes, if for this race to work, you have to have buybacks with .90 racing. And I said, no way it's going to work. It's just these racers are not buyback racers. It's just not their whole, I guess, persona on racing. They have a persona of once you go down first round, if that beacon, that little wind light doesn't shine, then you pack it up and hit the cooler and go home. And they said, well, we have to have buybacks. So they did buybacks. I think they tried to push the buyback thing. People kind of resisted against doing the buyback thing. They had a horrible car count. I think, if I remember correctly, I think we had like 9 super gas cars. I think we had like 15 super comp, and I think we might have had like 12 super street cars show up. And it was pretty ugly, to say the least. And that was actually the race that I feel horrible about, because I didn't have any control on it, but that was the race that Richie Prizer crashed the Mustang in Super Street in the finals. So, they end up running another race on Sunday, and that happened to be what really hurt the most was Virginia had a division race in early in May or whatever it was, and it got rained out, and they decided to put it on top of the weekend that we had chosen for the .90 Nationals. So they kind of swore up and down that people weren't going to drive back to Virginia twice to go for a division race. And I kept telling him, so people are going to go down to Virginia rather than come to ACO because there's division points and there's Wally and there's all that stuff. And he used to say they had more people down in Virginia than they had up at ACO. And then we gained we gained a bunch of people coming up from Virginia up to ACO afterwards, and the car count was okay for Sunday. But all in all, it just was a bad thing. And then the buyback thing, man, I almost got lynched that day. They were ready to hang me. Yeah, they were hanging me by the top of the staging lanes where it was by the buyback thing, because they hated it so much.
That
And I said,
surprises
never.
me because I would be all about buybacks. And I guess that's probably because I lose a lot in the first round, which is why I'd be in favor of it. But yeah, I mean, it gives you another chance to race. It puts more money in the track's pocket. I mean, I understand not doing it at a divisional. I also, and it's funny because we deal with this in the RC world too, where we actually do have a points championship and they allow buybacks. And I don't feel like someone who loses should be able to buy back and impact a point series. I don't think it's right. If you lose, you shouldn't be able to take out someone else that's in the hunt in the third or fourth round. But
I know, like a lot of bracket races does that. Like a lot of bracket races do, like, you know, if they buy back and they happen to get back in,
right?
Since they already lost, they get the first round points, but they can win the day ends winnings, but they don't get the points for going to the final round.
Correct, and that's the same thing that we do. If you lose, you don't earn points anymore, but you could win the money. I'm not the one who structured the point series. That's a national thing, but for points like, you know, divisionals or the point series that you run, totally understand why you wouldn't even contemplate doing buybacks. And I could understand why you wouldn't do it this past weekend with the amount of cars that you had and so on. But for a non-points race, I think buybacks are friggin' awesome. And I for the life of me, will never understand why people would resist that so bad.
Speaking of RC, did you get a chance to go across the thing and see the RC race going on?
Yep. Yeah, I actually met a couple of people that I've talked to quite a bit that I've never met before. This was my second time. I raced my RC cars during the Harrington foot brake race at Maple Grove. They had that the same weekend. I actually raced that race, but some of these guys couldn't attend. So it was kind of cool, even though I wasn't racing, to go over there and meet some of the people. And I watched my track record fall miserably. Like wasn't even close. I left the first event with the track record, and I think they broke that by like halfway through the first time trial this weekend, but whatever.
Yeah, I saw them setting up, and I just never got a chance to actually get over and see them racing and stuff like that. And I had a few racers come out and goes, man, you gotta go see that. Those things are cool. Those things are flying, or was. And I said, yeah, just, you know, fortunately you're so, you know. Yeah.
Rich Prizer went over there and he was like, are you friggin' kidding me? It's crazy. And then I started, because I have an app on my phone that's like my data logger for my RC car. And I was showing him like all the parameters and tuning and timing and reading the data logs. And he's like, oh my God, this is crazy. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
No, Richie probably went and bought a few already.
Yeah, he probably bought me out already. Yeah, I don't even know it yet. Yeah. But so I am going to tell you one thing about your race that I noticed this weekend. I remember when I first started racing divisionals, that it really felt like a family atmosphere. Like, you know, as soon as the racing was done, you'd see kids riding around on bikes and playing games and all that stuff. And as time has gone on, I feel like I see a lot less of that at divisionals. being at your race this weekend kind of reminded me of how it used to be. I had a family next to me set up a volleyball net in the middle of the road every night when racing was done, and they would play for hours and have a great time. Drive up the road a little bit and you see 4 people playing cornhole. I mean, naturally, if you go over the D. Pascal JA camp, it looks like a friggin' 3-ring amusement park circus every time anyway. But it had a lot more of a family feel to it than any divisionals that I've attended in the last couple of years. Well, I should say longer than that because I haven't done shit in the last couple of years. But it reminded me a lot more of a family event, and I thought it was really cool. I'm guessing having 175 junior dragsters probably had something to do with that, but it was just cool. It's the people were cool. As far as I'm concerned, the event ran great. I was happy to be there, and you did a hell of a job, Rob. It's just, you take whatever you hear from other people and file it under constructive criticism to make it a little bit better next time. But at the end of the day, it was a phenomenal event. It was the most fun I've had racing in a long time. And you definitely have nothing to be worried about or ashamed about. Your crew was absolutely killer. The track was killer and the event was killer. The weather was great. I mean, it was awesome. It was a really good time.
Hey, Rob, one comment from Meredith Janke. She said, you need to hang out with a top sportsman.
I need to hang out with a top sportsman.
From my experience of Lebanon Valley, she will serve you dinner, she'll make sure you sit down, she will serve you dinner, and then bring you a piece of cake afterwards.
Man. She gave me brownies. She literally made me a whole entire package of brownies, like of homemade brownies. Because the joke between me and her is that she makes brownies at the division races, and I guess nobody eats the ends of the brownies. Because nobody that's in that group likes the ends. I love the ends, so I always joke with her. I said, I said, if you make brownies for everybody, save the ends for me, and I'll eat the ends because I love the ends. Well, next thing I know, Dana comes over and she goes, "Hey, some woman just came over and dropped off a whole package of like a whole entire tin of brownies." And I was like, "Oh, it had to be Meredith." I said, "There's no doubt in my mind it had to be Meredith. She had to drive." I said, "But I just wanted a couple of ends." I said, "She didn't have to make me a whole entire thing of brownies." But they came in handy because literally not eating the whole entire day. It was like go in the trailer, grab a brownie, come outside, eat the brownie. I think Sunday night I never got a chance to eat dinner. So literally on the way, as I was like cleaning up the trailer, I looked over and I was like, "Oh, brownies are still left." And I literally got like 2 brownies. I was like, "There's dinner." I was like,
dinner of champions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to the Janky RV after the racing is done for the day, if you go back to your hotel or your RV hungry, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. I learned that.
Yeah, I was getting many offers on Friday night. Like every time I'd stop somewhere, everybody was like, "Rob, stop by." Like I stopped by Dave Bachelor's Pits, and he had a whole spread going on with the steak and lobster tail and Bruce Mullins' mac and cheese and all kinds of things where it was. And he was like, make sure you leave with a lobster tail and you leave with a steak and you leave with mac and cheese. And I was like, well, I kind of already ate dinner. I said, but sure, I'll grab something. It was. So, but yeah, so I it was a great event. I mean, there's always ways that you could find different, like I said, like Pete said, constructive criticism, find new ways to make it better for the following year. You're always going to have your naysayers no matter what. I mean, as far as, well, I wouldn't add juniors, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. I mean, of course, even with the kids riding around on the bikes and the volleyball things, I still got like, it's like, I'm not saying, kids are maybe different than they were when we grew up.
Right.
And I, trust me, I try to remind some of our guys that we were young at one time and we did some stupid things. I mean, trust me, I have scars all over my body from stupid things I did at the racetrack, from leaning the mini bike up against the side of my leg and burning the heck out of my leg, from ripping my arm open, I think at the Englishtown lake, trying to climb a fence, smashing my head on a transmission because kids were trying to dump water on top of me, and I was scrambling, and I came back and I slammed my head on the back of a transmission, busted it open. I mean, we did stupid things, you know, and I don't know if it's as we get older, we kind of like now look at that generation to be like, you know, look at these stupid kids riding these bikes, you know, doing wheelies and stuff and stuff. So, I mean, I guess kids are gonna be kids. I think, you know, maybe it's because the fact is that when we were growing up, there wasn't as many. When we had kids, but there wasn't as many because you didn't have junior dragsters at the time. Whereas now everybody's, you know, when you go to an event, there's at least probably going to be 100 kids probably there. You know, you would go to a divisional back in the day. Maybe there wasn't as many kids because they just didn't, you know, they weren't interested in racing. And there was no, you know, I don't want to go see dad race because I can't race. And, you know, this thing.
The biggest issue that I think now is with the kid situation is, you know, when you were a young teenager and you were riding a wheelie in the pits and you fell back and you cracked your head open on the pavement, your father would walk up to you and smack the front of your head and say, "You're a dumbass, go put a Band-Aid on." Now when a kid does a wheelie and cracks their head open on the pavement, the parents want to sue the racetrack.
Yeah.
Because someone wasn't there to throw a pillow under the kid's head as they were flying over backwards. And, you know, unfortunately, it's just a different world now. Whose fault is that? You could probably sit here and talk for hours about it, but
I mean, I even had to tell a couple. Yeah, I mean, I had to tell a couple kids this weekend. I said, "Listen, you guys got to chill and calm down with the bikes." I said, "You know, guys got to, you know," I said, "I know you want to have a good time. You're here, you know, to enjoy yourself. You're here to have a good time." I said, "But, you know, stop acting like a complete a-hole."
Right.
Like, you know, because the fact is, I think a lot of it is also is that a lot of the older people are afraid that somebody's going to do something stupid and they're going to run into somebody, you know, like, you know, maybe it's one of these things where you just got done fixing your car and you know Super Street's running down the racetrack and you might miss the call. So what do? You jump in the car, you back up, you fly up to the sage lanes.
Sure.
You know, and there's some tricky spots at any racetrack you go to. There's some blind spots where you can't see around that corner. Next thing you know, here comes a kid flying down on his bike doing a wheelie. Boom. Next thing you know, he's flying, you know, God forbid, you know, heads all scrambled all over the freaking thing. And you're like, oh my God, I just, you know, like and I think that's where a lot of the worriness is coming from with the older kids, you know, or about older people, I guess you would say, like the racers themselves, is that, you know, and I don't think it's a fact that they're saying that, you know, these kids are being a bunch of jackasses. I think it's just it's more of, we don't want to see these kids get hurt, and they're doing things that are going to warrant them getting hurt.
Right. We don't want to see kids get hurt. We don't want to see the track get sued. We don't want to see anyone have any damage to their property. I mean, I get all that. And some of it kind of lies on the parents too, that like, hey, look up. If you see your 4-year-old kid running around the pits like a maniac, tell him to calm down, at least until the racing's over, so that there's not a chance of something bad happening. Maple Grove has all those beautiful fields back and up on the hill and everything. Kid wants to try and be the next Evel Knievel. Go over on the grass and something. Do it over there where you don't have to worry about something stupid happening. But
I still tell Elijah, as a parent of a teenager, you know, I'm lucky. We're lucky. He doesn't do a whole lot of dumb stuff. I'll give him all the credit in the world. And I am the first to criticize him too. And I'm the biggest hard ass on my kid ever. But I'll always tell him, I have more scars than you do. Even though you had heart surgery, I'll still have more scars than you. You know?
All right. So now that we've critiqued your race to death, how about we talk about some winners?
Sure. You want me to do it, or Chris, you got it?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So Saturday's portion of the Dave Stein, third annual Dave Stein race. Super Comp. So Super Comp, Super Gas, and Super Street was 5,000 guaranteed to win, thanks to AA Auto Salvage, Tommy Stava, Karen Stava, Paul and Emily Stava. So Tommy stepped up to guarantee it $5,000 to win in all three classes. Super Comp was David Markle out of New York. It was Dave's first ever win in Super Comp. Dave actually switched over to a blower combination with Super Comp this year. So it almost sounds like a top dragster when it starts up and it's running. But he beat Walter Olt in the final of Super Comp. Super Gas, which is who we just spoke with, which is Nick Volpe. Nick Volpe beat Bob Phillips in the final of Super Gas. And Super Street, it was Jay Neville. Jay, of course, is the Division I All-Star rep for this year. He's going to Texas a little bit later on as the rep. He beat Wes Siegel in the final of Super Street. And of course, we did have a couple of different specialty races. I guess you say we had the Bad 8 race, which is what basically pits. We had the fastest 4 top sportsman cars against the fastest 4 top dragster cars. They pay an additional $75 entry fee into the event, and that's where the purse is generated from. We run the 4 top dragsters by themselves, and then the 4 top sportsmen by themselves, and then the top dragster runs the top sportsman guy in the final. So it was Dan Hill, which is good friends with the Janke family, beating Dave Petrosky in the Glick Fire Equipment dragster. Then Super Pro, we actually got down to the final. Unfortunately, we had curfew with that, so it was Mike versus Barry Salter. So they decided to split it. So they both got $2,000 apiece for Super Pro split. Junior Dragsters was Battle of Brothers. It was Anthony Magliacco versus Alphonse Magliacco, part of the Fonz team. Alphonse took the winner of Anthony in that win. In Pro Eliminator, it was Paul Tim Jr. over Greg Hornsberger. And that ended Saturday's program. Then we fast forward to Sunday. Sunday was not a guaranteed payout, but decent payout total, when it comes down to it. So Super Comp was, as he is referred to by Tori, Taylor, and Jackie, is the BIL, which is the brother-in-law. Mr. Lee Ream beat John Bruzo, as he likes to be called, his bridesmaid Bruzo. He actually called me about an hour ago. Says, at the banquet this year, I prefer you to give me one of them little wedding toppers with the bridesmaid on there. He says, because I've been to 5 of your finals now, and I have runner-up at every single one. Bruzo was actually pretty late on it. He was late on the tree. He's like 40 on the tree, but actually went a dead 0, went 890 with a 0, and I believe Lee went 891 with a 0. So Lee claimed $3,000 to win in Super Comp on that one. Then Super Gas was Walter Olt. So Walter went to the finals of Super Comp the night before, ends up winning Super Gas on Sunday. He beat Kevin Robb in the final of Super Gas. Kevin went red. Super Street was the other person we spoke to tonight, which is Frank Volpe III.
Yep.
This is actually Frank's 3rd win so far this year. He's, like I said, he swept the first 2 Cecil races with the Mid-Atlantic .90 series, and then came and won Sunday. He beat Jay Neville in the final of Super Street on that one. So now I'm sure Nick and Frank were both regretting saying no to points for the weekend. That would help them out. But both of them were like, no, we don't want points on this Dave Stein race. And
I don't think anyone went more rounds at the race than Jay, right?
Yeah. Jay went to a final both days. One win, one runner up. So, and I think they were both 5 rounders, I think. So he had a 9-1 record for the weekend. So
not too shabby, right?
Yep. And then
one of those
top,
me, I'll tell you that.
And then top sportsman was Mike Graffis with his Camaro, our Corvette. He beat Ronnie Regal with his Camaro. And then top dragster was Gary Kobe. I guess according to what Christy Pasquale told me, Gary hadn't driven since Epping National Event back in 2022. So he had taken about a year plus off of racing.
Yep.
Came back to this race and then ended up winning top dragster over Jason Barrow. And then of course we do the same thing we do with the Bat 8. We run the final of dragster versus door cars. So Gary beat Mike Graffis in the final to take $3,000 home in the top sportsman, top dragster shootout. Super Pro was Uncle Paul, as he's known at ACO by Dana, is Paul Kelly, which is, anybody knows Greg Kelly, Mark Kelly, the gentleman who owned Motorsports Innovations.
Yep.
Paul Kelly is Greg's brother. Paul won Super Pro over, I am going to mess up his name, and I know it because I've been on his show. He actually has a podcast himself. Zach Rothenberg. Yep, there he goes. Zach Rothenberg. He beat him in the final. Zach actually went red, and big props to them guys, the Super Pro guys, the pro guys. They were just turn and burn. I mean, we were getting close to that 8 o'clock curfew, and I think I was coming down to see how the Super Comp finals making out, because they both were going back to gas and go and put some air on the tires. And Zach was actually coming back after winning, and I just went like this to Zach, and he was like, I'm going right to the lanes. Like he was like, and he had the helmet on and everything. He just literally pulled up in the lanes, came down, they fueled up the car and was ready, because he knew we were coming close to hitting curfew.
Yeah.
And then Pro Eliminator was a name known probably by many people in the super stock world, Mr. Matt Lisa. He won Pro with his Nova over the winner from Saturday, Mr. Paul Tim Jr.
Yep.
And then Junior Dragsters was FJ Vignola and the Gangster Green Dragster. Probably my favorite paint job, I think, on any kind of a junior dragster. I think it's a pretty cool looking paint job on there. And he beat Matty Torchia on the final of that. And then we did a second chance race for the junior dragsters, which was Anthony Magliolco beat Zach Gale in the final of that one. So Anthony was able to at least pull one win out, after losing to his brother on Saturday night. So,
yeah.
All in all, like I said, 373 cars on Saturday and 303 on Sunday, and one tire pup. So, I couldn't wait to hit my bed on Sunday night when I got home.
Yeah, I can see that. No doubt. Well, Rob, listen, again, hats off to you. I'm glad that I was able to attend. I'm sure there's a shitload of other people that feel the exact same way. You did great. Your crew did great, and it was a great race. So try and put some of the white noise behind you and enjoy the fruits of your labor, because you did a hell of a job, bub.
Yep, and I just want to say a quick thank you to all the, number one, my staff who helped me out, which was Dana Leone, Ashley Kubicki, Jared Artis. Anybody knows Jared? He's our Division I starter.
Yep.
He actually volunteered his time to come spend Saturday and Sunday with us, and pair cars and stuff, and not take a day off, but it was just like he felt great to be able to talk to people in the lanes and not have to be stuck on the starting line like he is for Division I races. So he felt great to be able to get out there. And then Dave Nahill, which is of course Dana's husband, helped my team, plus of course the Maple Grove staff who did a great job. Sponsors who made it all possible: AA Auto Salvage, Roadrunner Race Fuels, Fuel Factory, ITI Truck and Body, David Barton Racing Engines, S&W Race Cars, and Daryl Tillman Realty Company were the companies who came on board to help support us to make that all possible, to help with the rental and all that fun stuff. So big thank you to our sponsors, big thank you to all of my staff. So it's 8:15, and like you, Pete, I'm about ready for bed. So
do I make it that obvious?
Trust me, I was in bed at 7:30 last night, so I've surpassed my last night by about 45 minutes.
I went into work yesterday and I sat down at my desk and I looked around and I'm like, thank God I have employees, because I suck.
Yeah, it takes a toll on you. It really does, and then especially the heat definitely takes a toll on you.
Yeah, Yeah, in the traffic that I was in Sunday night, if I didn't get out and murder somebody, it's a miracle. The ride home was the smoothest thing in the world until I hit Connecticut. Took me 3.5 hours to get from Maple Grove to exit 6 on 95 in Connecticut, which is, with the exception of going over the Tappan Zee Bridge, I never saw under 65 the whole trip. It was just a flawless trip. It took me 2.5 hours to go 48 miles. When I tell you, I almost came unhinged. I mean, I wanted to put the air brakes on, run out of the side door, and get in the middle of the friggin' highway and just scream at the top of my lungs. I was so pissed. My son was following behind me, cracking up because he could see how mad I was getting. He probably saw steam coming out of the vents on the motorhome. I was so freaking mad.
Oh God, only you.
Here we are.
Well, hell of a job, Rob. Go ahead
Yes,
and
sir.
get settled in for the night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks once again for having me, guys.
Rob and crew, great job, bub.
Thank you.
All right, Rob, have a great night.
So here,
I wasn't sure how long this was gonna last, so I printed out the top 10 Division I points. So needless to say, we're saving that for next week.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you're gonna do that, I'm logging off.
Just a couple things I wanna buzz through here.
Okay,
Pack it in for the night. First off, I want to thank Jackie Frick and Accelerated Travel for helping me out getting a hotel room for the triples at Lebanon Valley. As always, Jackie comes through. And of course, congratulate, Jackie on her win top alcohol dragster at the national event out in the
Yep.
state of Washington. I was asked to shout this out, and unfortunately, somebody who has passed away, they lost their battle to cancer. I'm probably going to obliterate this last name. And if I do, Scotty Mack, I apologize. Alexander Carmeniolis. That was pretty close, I think. Did Scotty Wills t-shirts, and I'm obviously a whole bunch of other people, but he lost a battle to cancer a few days ago. So Scotty Mack asked me to acknowledge to everybody that he did not win his battle.
condolences to his family and friends. And, hopefully they can find some peace with it. Cancer sucks.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's as I get older, we've talked about this before. You don't realize what it does, not only to the person who's suffering through it, obviously, but the family. And now that I'm in my mid-50s, I see a lot of things about people that I grew up with who are suffering, at the hands of cancer, and the families that are suffering as well.
Yep. No
Bring a little sunshine into that little depressing moment. This coming weekend at New England Dragway, top dragster, guaranteed winning is $2,000. However, Joe Hoyle of J&S Auto Repair added another $1,000 to the purse to make it $3,000 total winnings. But the Race of Champions bonus round will add another $1,000, making the potential cash win $4,000. The top dragster winner will take on the top sportsman winner for the Racers Champion bonus round, sponsored by New England Dragway, for an extra $1,000. And they're also racing on Sunday, so it's a double up weekend. As far as I know, Top Sportsman is doubling up with them. I don't know that for a fact, but that seems to be how they have been running their schedule. Sunday is guaranteed $2,000 to win. The bounty holder is Alan Elliott. The winner will receive a VP fuel jug. So get out, have a little fun this weekend at New England Dragway. We're racing for Top Sportsman and Top Dragster.
Excellent. And I also have the race results for the 2-day race at Lebanon Valley for Super Street.
Speak, my child.
You got it. So on Saturday's race, the win goes to Carl Wright. Runner-up is my buddy Drew Wonderly. And normally I wouldn't bother announcing semifinals, but because he's a birthday boy, we have to give him a shout out. George McGuigan, happy birthday and congrats on your semifinal appearance. Number one qualifier for Saturday was Carl Wright. And the bounty was on Ray Butler, and Matt Taccone took him out. And no one hit Racing News Network's 1090 with a zero money, so it rolls over.
I was gonna say, isn't this like the third rollover, second or third rollover?
Yeah, it's starting to add up.
Sweet.
It's definitely starting to add up. So that brings us to Sunday, who the winner was Ray Butler, a name that's no stranger to Super Street up at Lebanon Valley or anywhere else in Division One. Runner-up was Laura LeCue. Hopefully I said that properly. And we will give a semifinal shout out to Mike Falcone, who I believe his birthday was a week or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. Number one qualifier was William Blaker, and Steve McCullough took the bounty. I'm assuming because he beat Carl Wright, who won Saturday's race. And again, no one hit the 1090 with a zero. So I believe that's at least 4 races that it's rolling over. So that's starting to add up to a pretty good little chunk of change.
Can we make it a minute and 10 with a 90 on the end? And I'll bring my
Yeah.
my buzz
Yeah.
around, and
Well, you can race till the 60-foot clocks.
there you go. Yeah, it'll still take me a minute and a half. to
Yeah.
get there.
Probably still wouldn't run the number.
Oh,
Good stuff.
well, very
All
cool.
right, well,
Show tonight. I want to thank the entire Volpe family for coming on and hanging out with us.
Thank you for coming on, guys.
Rob,
As usual, Rob.
yep, and of course, the man right there, Pete Senka.
And that guy right there.
And that guy right there. So we will be back next Tuesday night. Well, I will. He more than likely will. So we're gonna go throw stuff at each other while he works on my kid's car on Friday. And said probably I got Alex and I have all the divisional points. I'll probably, since that'll give me another week, I might slap together the national sportsman points and see what the week brings.
That's a wrap.
I've been doing it that way.
I
So,
like it.
all right, ladies
All
and
right,
gentlemen,
buddy.
boys and girls, that is how we do that. And we're gonna pack it in, call it a night, and Pete's gonna go set his DVR and go to bed.
Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody, have a great night. Thank you, everybody, coming on and hanging out, tuning in, checking us out. Back next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Take care, all.